Well, I didn't even get a shower, so my hair's just fucking greasy.
Yeah.
Also, look at the cover of this book.
Pretty cool. We're going to be reading Sigmund Freud's interpretation of dreams. Is that one of Razorfist books?
What?
Is this one of the books Razorfist published?
No,
No,
that's...
not Razorfist. Six Hexenhammer, I mean.
No, that's just the Corpus Hermeticum.
It was published by Six Hexenhammer, though.
It was?
Yeah, that's what that means.
Holy shit, that's awesome, ain't it?
Like, because he re-releases a bunch of old public domain ones.
That's awesome.
I know, because I have a few of his books.
I'm surprised. I didn't even realize.
Because he likes to republish, like, old, like, public domain, like, grimoires and, like, occult stuff and whatnot. We're skipping the intro, as with last time, right?
Yeah, I don't give a shit about this.
What's up, Steven? Trying to get us both in frame, but, you know, that's nice, easy. There we go.
Chapter 1, The Scientific Literature of Dream Problems.
This is interpretation of dreams, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we can continue this one remotely when we need to, because I own this book as well.
Yeah. In the following pages, I shall demonstrate that there is a psychological technique which makes it possible to interpret dreams, and that on the application of this technique, every dream will reveal itself as a psychological structure full of significance, and one which may be assigned to a specific place in the psychic activities of the waking state. Further, I shall endeavor to elucidate the processes which underlie the strangeness and obscurity of dreams, and to deduce from these processes the nature of the psychic forces whose conflict or cooperation is responsible for our dreams. This done, my investigation will terminate, as it will have reached the point where the problem of the dream merges into more comprehensive problems, and to solve these we must have recourse to material of a different kind. I shall begin by giving a short account of the views of earlier writers on this subject and of the status of the dream problem.
Final solution to the dream problem?
In contemporary science.
Like, no joke, it's crazy you guys met up after the first time. Or met for the first after all of these years. I mean, yeah. As I asked him the other day, like, when he fucking commented on a fucking stream, saying, like, hey, your channel's really underrated. Did you think we'd ever be in the same place at the same time? He's like, no.
Where the fuck was I? Terminate, as it will have reached the point where the problem of the dream merges into more comprehensive problems, and to solve these we must have recourse to material of a different kind. I shall begin by giving a short account of the views of earlier writers on this subject and of the status of the dream problem in contemporary science. I think I already read this. And then
yeah, because I said his final solution to the dream problem.
Yeah, since in the course of this treatise,
both are probably all right.
I shall not often have occasion to refer to either. In spite of thousands of years of endeavor, little progress has been made in the scientific understanding of dreams. This fact has been so universally acknowledged by previous writers on the subject that it seems hardly necessary to quote individual opinions. The reader will find in many stimulating observations and plenty of interesting material relating to our subject, but little or nothing that concerns the true nature of the dream, or that solves definitively. It literally says definitely, whatever. Any
definitely.
Of its
Oh, that's good. That's good, Corbin. That's real good.
Maybe I shouldn't be reading this.
Maybe it's above your reading level. You need like a 3rd grade reading level.
Where the fuck did the definitely go?
Definitely.
definitely any of its enigmas. The educated
It's
layman,
ligmas.
ligmas, the educated layman, of course, knows even less of the matter.
That is a Corbin moment. Yeah.
He would fucking, dude. If Hard Luck heard that,
Yeah, he would lose his shit.
yeah,
He'd like make like a 6-hour-long video on it.
yeah. The conception of the dream that was held in prehistoric ages by primitive peoples, and the influence which it may have exerted on the formation of their conceptions of the universe and of the soul,
Life, the universe, and everything.
Is a theme of such great interest that it is only with reluctance that I refrain from dealing with it in these pages. I will refer the reader to the well-known works of Sir John Lubbock, Lord Avebury, Herbert Spencer, E.B. Taylor, and other writers. I will only add that we shall not realize the importance of these problems and speculations until we have completed the task of dream interpretation that lies before us. A reminiscence...
Hard Luck would probably think you're a dumb farmer that isn't smart enough to comprehend his reading. I mean, he already thinks that.
Yeah.
But I saw Corbin, and he was like fucking milking a horse, and he's like, I'm a farmer.
I was jerking off a horse, so yeah. I'm like, look, Daddy, I'm a farmer. Seriously, look how much ash there was.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to read and do this. A reminiscence of the concept of the dream that was held in primitive times seems to underlie the evaluation of the dream, which was current among the peoples of classical antiquity. They took it for granted that dreams were related to the world of the supernatural beings in whom they believed.
I think it's funny, though, that I mistook Styx Hexenhammer for Razorfist because they look kind of alike.
Yeah.
But they're pretty different. Like,
yeah.
There's overlap, but they're pretty different.
I mean, I think they both were like Satanists, weren't they, at one point?
Was Razorfist?
I don't know. Razorfist, I thought was... I mean, I don't know if Razorfist was a Satanist or not.
I am you a ghost. Okay.
But Styx Hexenhammer clearly was a Satanist.
Well, yeah, and now he's an occultist. He's a pagan.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, to Christians is Satanism, so... And that they brought inspirations from... Like literally the depiction of Satan as, like, a goat man is literally just combining, like, a bunch of different pagan gods into, like...
Yeah.
From the gods and demons. Moreover, it appeared to them that dreams must serve a special purpose in respect of the dreamer, that as a rule they predicted the future, the extraordinary variations in the content of dream... I literally skipped the part, but fuck it. And in the impressions which they produced on the dreamer made it of...
Wait, he's in a cult? He's not in a cult, he's just a pagan.
To formulate a coherent conception of them, and necessitated manifold differentiations and group formations according to their value and reliability.
Because to be a cult, it has to have like a leader and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Motherfucker.
The valuation of dreams by the individual philosophers of antiquity naturally depended on the importance which they were prepared to attribute to manticism in general.
In my fucking torch.
In the two works of Aristotle in which there is mention of dreams, they are already regarded as constituting a problem of psychology. We are told that the dream is not God-sent, that it is not of divine, but of demonic origin. For nature is really demonic, not divine. That is to say, the dream is not a supernatural revelation, but is subject to the laws of the human spirit, which has, of course, a kinship with the divine. The dream, god damn it, my hair, is defined as the psychic activity of the sleeper inasmuch as he is asleep. Aristotle was acquainted with some of the characteristics of the dream life. For example, he knew that a dream converts the... You want to read the next page so I can actually smoke this?
I like how he ended mid-sentence. Converts the slight sensations perceived in sleep into intense sensations. One imagines that one is walking through fire and feels hot. If this or that of the body becomes only slightly warm, which led him to conclude that dreams might easily betray to the physician the first indications of an incipient physical change which has escaped observation during the day. As has been said, those writers of antiquity who preceded Aristotle did not regard the dream as a product of the dreaming psyche, but as an inspiration of divine origin. And in ancient times, the two opposing tendencies, which we shall find throughout the ages, in respect to the evaluation of dream life, were already perceptible. The ancients distinguished between the true and valuable dreams, which were sent to the dreamer as warnings or to foretell future events, and the vain, fraudulent, empty dreams, whose object was to misguide him or lead him to destruction. The pre-scientific conception of the dream, which obtained among the ancients, was, of course, in perfect keeping with their general conception of the universe, which was accustomed to project as an external reality that which possessed reality only in the life of the psyche. Further, it is accounted for the main impression made upon the waking life by the morning memory of the dream. For this memory of the dream, as compared to the rest of the psychic content, seems to be alien, coming, as it were, from another world. That's what alien means, Freud. Thank you very much. It would be an error to suppose that the theory of supernatural origin of dreams lacks followers even in our own times. For quite apart from pietistic and mystical writers who cling, as they are perfectly justified in doing, to the remnants of the once predominant realm of the supernatural, until these remnants have been swept away by scientific explanation. We not infrequently find that quite intelligent people, who in other respects are averse to anything of a romantic nature, go so far as to base their religious belief in the existence of cooperation of superhuman spiritual powers on the inexplicable nature of the phenomena of dreams. Hafner. The validity ascribed to the dream by certain schools of philosophy, for example, by the school of Schelling, is a distinct reminiscence of the undisputed belief, in the divinity of dreams, which prevailed in antiquity, and for some thinkers, the mantic or prophetic power of dreams is still the subject of debate. This is due to the fact that explanations attempted by psychology are too inadequate to cope with with the accumulated material. However strongly the scientific thinker may feel that such superstitious doctrine should be repudiated.
Something in there I was allergic to. My bad.
Anything? Nope, still nothing. Okay.
Yeah, I'm checking.
No one's watching. They hate you.
Steven's watching.
There's two people watching.
They hate you.
Yeah, they're hate watching.
I hope one of them's hard though.
That'd be funny. To write a history of our scientific knowledge of the dream problem is extremely difficult, because valuable though this knowledge may be in certain respects, no real progress in a definite direction is as yet discernible.
See, if Hardluck was a bro, he'd just show up and start making fun of us on the chat.
Yeah, but he ain't a bro. But he'll change his tune once you put him in that dress.
Yeah, fuck you, Kyler. I hate you too, but I'm gonna keep watching.
Which one's that?
That's Steven.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, Andy. Now we're gonna get the meeting of the minds here.
A real meeting of the minds.
Especially if Chisu shows up.
I fucking want to hear him say some of his dreams so
we can analyze it, yeah. Where was I? No real foundation of verified results has hitherto been established on which future investigators might come to build. Every new author approaches the same problems afresh.
Seriously, look how fast I went through this.
Yeah.
Because it's windy, probably.
Well, also, you're a smaller one than me when it comes to the cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wanted to make
But
sure
still,
I
it's like
clarified that so that couldn't be
I'm smoking it pretty
misinterpreted.
fast.
He does have a smaller one than you. Also the cigar.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
probably should have picked a bigger one. Oh fuck! I gotta get rid of this
You
thing
still got
too.
plenty of room, Corbin. They've still got plenty of
Yeah,
left.
that you still got
Yeah.
like 20 minutes or so.
Anyway, every new author approaches the same problems afresh, and from the beginning, if I were to enumerate such authors in chronological order, giving a survey of the opinions which each has held concerning the problems of the dream, I should be quite unable to draw a clear and complete picture of the present state of our knowledge on the subject. I have therefore preferred to base my method of treatment on themes rather than on authors, and in attempting the solution of each problem of the dream, I shall cite the material of the literature of the subject. But as I have not succeeded in mastering the whole of this literature, for it is widely dispersed and interwoven with the literature of other subjects, I
was wondering where you were, but when I saw your recent community post, Fugitive Redeye.
Yeah, that's why I
I
made
told
the post.
everyone we're in California.
Sure. I must ask my readers to rest content with my survey as it stands, provided that no fundamental fact or important point of view has been overlooked. In a supplement to a later German edition, the author adds, I shall have to justify myself for not extending my summary of the literature of dream problems to cover the period between the first appearance of this book and the publication of this second edition. This justification may not seem very satisfactory to the reader. Nonetheless, to me, it is decisive. The motives which induced me to summarize the treatment of dreams in this literature of the subject have been exhausted by the foregoing introduction. To have continued this would have cost me a great deal. So basically, he's apologizing that he didn't go into like super big depth on everything everyone else said before him. He's like, it would have taken too long. That's what he's basically saying here.
Yeah. I like when he actually gets to the part where he starts interpreting dreams.
Yeah, right?
But he's really fucking pretentious. Like, Freud is insanely pretentious.
Oh, yeah, of course.
No way.
To have continued this would have cost me a great deal of effort and would not have been particularly useful or instructive. For the interval in question, a period of 9 years, has yielded nothing of new or valuable as regards to the conception of dreams, either in actual material or in novel points of view. In most of the literature which has appeared since the publication of my own work, the latter has not been mentioned or discussed. It has, of course, received the least attention from the so-called research workers on dreams.
I'll read this real quick. They actually are in LA. Can't you see them? What, shitting? Why do you think they are? Yeah, he said shitting. Why do you think they are sitting down? They are shitting down. What the fuck? Is Steven like having an autism fit or something?
Drugs are bad, okay?
Stop eating bear meat.
Yeah, what the fuck? I would expect Steven to say that.
It was a really bad pun that didn't work.
Yeah.
Who have afforded this brilliant example of aversion to learning anything new so characteristic of the scientist. Les savants ne sont pas courriers. I don't know, it's French, so whatever, good enough. Said the scoffer, and Anatole France. This guy's last name was France, and he was a Frenchman.
What a fraud.
That's funny.
If there was such a thing in science as the right of revenge, I, in turn, should be justified in ignoring the literature which has appeared since the publication of this book. The few reviews which have appeared in the scientific journals are so full of misconceptions and lack comprehension that my only possible answer to my critics would be to request that they should read this book over again, or perhaps merely they should read it. He's basically like, if you're criticizing me, you didn't fucking read it.
Yeah.
Pretty full of himself. I like it.
Read the book.
Well, that's one of the things I like about Freud more than Jung, is that Freud's like just absolutely just fucking full of himself.
Which you may notice, with Hard Luck, we're less like into that, but that's just because Hard Luck shit isn't good.
Yeah.
And also because he doesn't commit. If he just committed to being an asshole like that, I'd like him more.
Well, yeah, I just hate that he has like a fake ass persona. That's why I like that we're making him make videos where he's actually honest.
And in a supplement of the fourth German, he's added yet another footnote here, which appeared in 1914. Damn, this is old. A
You're
year
old.
after I published the first English translation of this work, he
Steven's
writes,
explaining the joke like over and over. He's like, I thought it was a clever, sophisticated joke. The joke was shitting down instead of sitting down.
yes, far too sophisticated for us, I suppose.
I thought it was rather shallow and pedantic.
Well, what if we were to give this game to say, I forget how many people.
Yeah, here's some more shit he
Fuck.
added. Since then, the state of affairs has certainly undergone a change. My contribution to the interpretation of dreams, he said it, he said the title, is no longer ignored in the literature of the subject. But a new situation
Do
makes
all
it
of
even
his
more
books
impossible.
have his name across the front of it?
Most books do that.
His name. Isn't his name on the front?
Yes.
Yeah. Most of them have the author's name just in
Some do. Mine
big
isn't like this.
fucking
Kind of.
letters.
This is just the way it's published. I think you're really overanalyzing this.
Yeah.
But I don't
Books
know.
are dumb.
Okay.
But next we should read this since it is fucking 6.5.
Stick, sex, and hammer.
Sticks.
Sticks and hammers. Sickle and hammers.
Anyway, but the new situation makes it even more impossible to continue the foregoing summary. The interpretation of dreams has evoked a whole series of new contentions and problems, but which have been expounded by the authors of the most varied fashions. I cannot discuss these works until I have developed the theories to which their authors have referred. Whatever has appeared to me as valuable in this recent literature, I have accordingly reviewed in the course of the following exposition.
I can read that. Take it.
All right, we're on chapter 2 now.
Yeah.
Chapter 2.
Mine went out because I was reading for so long.
Now the fucking lighter works.
Chapter 2, the method of dream interpretation. The analysis of specimen dream. Fuck, my eyes. The epigraph on the title page of this volume indicates the tradition to which I prefer to ally myself in my conception of the dream.
I like how earlier you're like, yeah, we're going to do
I
like
am
serious
proposing to
analysis of
show
these books in this
that
series,
dreams are
but here you're just
capable
going
of
cucumber.
interpretation, and any contributions to the solution of the problem, the final solution, which have already been discussed, will emerge only as possible by
Episode
products.
1 will be chapter 1 when I put it on your channel, and then episode 2 is going to be you starting off in cucumber voice.
Yeah. Where the fuck was I? Contributions to the solution of the problem, which have already been discussed, will emerge only as possible byproducts in the accomplishment of my special task. On the hypothesis that dreams are susceptible of interpretation, I once
Maybe
find
Hardluck will take
myself
your criticisms and make his next issue really good. Maybe.
in disagreement with the prevailing doctrine of dreams. In fact, with all the theories of dreams, excepting only that of Scherner, for to interpret a dream is to specify it's the what the fuck is this word?
I'm glad he reads like me.
Concatenation?
Concatenation.
Concatenation?
Cunnilingus.
Cunnilingus.
Of our psychic activities. Fuck. As a link of definite importance and value, but as we have seen, the scientific theories, it's hard for me to smoke a cigar, read, and get my hair out of my face at the same time.
Yeah, that's why I paused and
Scientific
didn't smoke it the whole
theories
time, which is why I had to relight mine.
Leave no room for a problem of dream interpretation, since in the first place, according to these theories, dreaming is not a psychic activity at all, but a somatic process which makes itself known to the psychic apparatus by means of symbols. Lay opinion has always been opposed to these theories. It asserts its privilege of proceeding illogically, and although it admits that dreams are incomprehensible and absurd, it cannot summon up the courage to deny that dreams have any significance. Led by a dim intuition, it seems rather to assume that dreams have a meaning, albeit a hidden one, that they are intended as a substitute for some other thought process, and that we have only to disclose this substitute correctly in order to discover the hidden meaning of the dream. The unscientific world, therefore, has always endeavored to interpret dreams, and by applying one or the other of two essentially different methods. The first of these methods envisages the dream content as a whole, and seeks to replace it by another content, which is intelligible and
It'll-
in certain respects analogous. What is it?
Analogous.
Analogous? Okay.
Anal beads.
But I was going to say, it'll be interesting that the first parts will be starting us with us reading the same copy, and then when we get to the later chapters, it's going to be me reading mine, which is a different translation.
Yeah. This is symbolic dream interpretation, and of course it goes to pieces at the very outset in the case of those dreams which are
they
not
both
only
the same
unintelligible but confused. The
volume,
construction
like,
which the
More or less.
biblical Joseph
With
placed
Nietzsche,
upon...
what we've read, it's been a little bit easier because Nietzsche puts numbered sections at the start of each part.
Yeah, this is going to be fucked up.
Yeah.
Upon the dream of Pharaoh furnishes an example of this method. The 7 fat
Cucumbers.
Kine.
after which came 7 lean ones that devoured the former, were a symbolic substitute for 7 years of famine in the land of Egypt, which according to the prediction
Kine
were
Kampf.
to consume all the surplus that 7 fruitful years had produced. Most of the artificial dreams contrived by the poets are intended for some such symbolic interpretation, for they reproduce the thought conceived by the poet in a guise not unlike the
Gross.
disguise which we are wont
Want.
to it says won't.
I know, but
We
there's
are-
no apostrophe, so it's want. That's like we are want as in how do I explain this? It's like we need it. We are striving to find it effectively.
We are wont to find in our dreams.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
The
didn't know
idea
that
that
could
the
be used
dream
that way.
concerns
Yeah, and it's spelled
itself
different than want. It's spelled like won't, but without the apostrophe.
chiefly with the future, whose
Huh.
form it surmises in advance, a relic of the prophetic
What an
significance
interesting language.
which dreams were once invested, now becomes the motive for translating into the future the meaning of the dream, which has been found by means of symbolic interpretation.
It's one of the aged
A
ones.
demonstration of the manner in which one arrives at such a symbolic interpretation cannot, of course, be given. Success remains a matter of ingenious,
Have you seen this?
Conjecture.
Seen this? Seen my genius? Genius?
of
Genius?
direct intuition. And for this reason, dream interpretation has naturally been elevated into an art which seems to depend upon extraordinary gifts. Should I even bother reading this thing here?
I mean, up to you. I haven't read all of the footnotes. Like when it's in a later edition by the author, he adds this. I've been reading it, but when it's citations and footnotes, I have.
Yeah, I don't think I need to bother. I think we understand. Second of the 2 popular methods of dream
But just so you know,
interpretation.
Freud didn't plagiarize if he's doing shit. He has citations. We're just not.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Yeah. Entirely abandons such claims. It might be described as the cipher method, since it treats the dream as a kind of secret code in which every sign is translated into another sign of known meaning. According to an established key, for example, I have dreamt of a letter and also of a funeral, or the like. I consult a dream book, and I find that letter is to be translated by vexation and funeral by engagement. It now remains to establish a connection, which I am again to assume pertaining to the future, by means of the rigmarole, which I have deciphered, an interesting variant of this cipher procedure, a variant in which its character of purely mechanical transference is to a certain extent corrected, is presented in the work on dream interpretation by Artemidoros
Artemidoros, I guess.
of Daldy.
Artemis Fowl.
Artemidoros.
Artemidoros of Daldes.
Artemidoros nuts. I don't know.
Artemidoros these nuts. Here not only the dream content, but also the personality. Look how fucking long this footnote is. And look how long this is.
Yeah.
Like half this book's gonna be footnotes.
Oh, that's telling us who Artemidoros is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should read it because we're fucking stupid and don't know. Like pictures in water are disfigured by the motion of the water, so that he hits the target best, who is able to recognize the true picture in the distorted one. Buschenschutz.
Where?
Buschenschutz.
Buchenschutz.
Buchenschutz. Fricassee Dick. Artemidoros of Daldes, born
French word or
probably in the
German?
beginning of the
Buchenschutz.
2nd century of our
I
calendar.
only know that says Buchen because Buchenwald is a concentration camp.
Ah.
I learned all my German from Nazis. That's why I need to get Heidegger. He was a Nazi philosopher.
Anyway, I'm going to read a couple of chats real quick. Or one chat, because I guess, well, Steven says, it's not like he has an ego, right? He's just the only professional artist here.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen you record a video outside with a buddy on camera. Well, this buddy is Corbin, Rabid Waffles, Andy.
Yeah.
This is literally the second time he's been on camera. Yesterday
Yeah,
was the
Andy, guess what? Autism.
first.
Yes, Corbin has it.
I'm just trying to get Andy to go into a
No, Andy will go on a loop about autism anytime
Yeah.
either of us mention it.
Has furnished us with the most complete and careful elaboration of dream interpretation as it existed in the Gracio-Roman world, as Gompertz has emphasized. He ascribed great importance to the consideration that dreams ought to be interpreted on the basis of observation and experience, and he drew a definite line between his own art and other methods, which he considered fraudulent. The principle of his art of interpretation is, according to Gompertz, I'm just going to read it that way,
Yeah.
identical.
I'm just going to let you,
that
unless
of
it's like a
magic,
word that I
i.e.
obviously
the
recognize, I'm
principle-
just like, I'm not going to
well, it's
bend
a
over.
person.
Well, bend over. I'm not going to lean over.
Principle.
He's
of
gonna
I'm
a
definitely
bend
not going to
over.
bend over.
He'll bend
Bend
over
over.
and scream it for you.
The thing dreamed meant what it recalled to the memory, of course, of the dream interpreter.
Memory is the key.
This fact that the dream may remind
Is
the
it?
interpreter of various things, and every
They come
interpreter
back to that in
of
Restoration,
different
actually.
things, leads, of course, to
they?
uncontrollable arbitrariness and
'Cause
uncertainty.
that's how they bring text back.
The technique which I am about to describe differs from that
At some
of
point
the
I'll watch
ancients in
Like I
one
said, it's
essential
good, it's just
point,
kinda
namely,
hollow.
and that it imposes upon the dreamer himself the work of interpretation instead of taking into account
I
whatever
want to
may
watch it a
occur
couple more times
to the
and see
dream
what I
interpreter.
think, you know?
It considers only what occurs to the
Have you ever
dreamer
read the
in connection
Cortana
with
letters
dream
that took
element
place before
concern,
Halo?
according to the recent records of the missionary. This isn't a fucking word. Tfungdent. To think digit.
Is that a typo? Like, legitimately, is that a typo?
I don't know.
Or is that some kind of weird, like, Swahili
Whose
word?
name is this? This is a name. To fingagent. You should.
It's actually pronounced.
Yeah, Derek.
Anthropos, 1913. I need to get this pup
I
again.
just realized it's Memorial Day weekend. It sure is. It was also on the 23rd. It was the 10th anniversary of the Day of Retribution.
Was it now? Wow.
I was gonna do a reading more of Diary of the Supreme Gentleman on Rumble and BitChute, but we're here, so I didn't do that.
Attribute much importance into the cooperation
this
of the
site?
dreamer, of the dream interpreters
No,
among
we
the
were
Mesopotamian
at the fucking
Arabs.
the second
This writer
stop.
relates as
The
follows.
second Walmart.
I ain't reading this fucking French shit.
You love French shit.
And social position, I mean the French Revolution.
There he goes. You read French shit.
What? And social position of the dreamer are taken into consideration so that the same dream content, get off of me, pesky bee.
Surprised Freud
Dream
wrote
content has a significance for the rich man. Like Sigmund Freud's just writing down what's happening to him. He's like, get off me, bee. The married man or the orator.
that. Yeah, he's dictating and someone else is writing it, like as he tells them. And he,
yeah. Which is different from that which applies to the poor man, the
yeah,
bachelor.
the poor man got a B on him.
Or let us say the merchant. This is a professional reading. The essential point, then, in this procedure is that the work of interpretation is not applied to the entirety of the dream. That's something that people hate about Sigmund Freud, is how pretentious he is, but I love it. I think that adds to it. But
Well, like I said, I like a
portion-
lot of what Freud says compared to a lot of other people say.
Yeah, well, I mean,
A lot
like,
of-
Carl Jung, like, just literally equates everything to, like, occult and mysticism shit. Like, I think that Sigmund Freud is actually more scientific.
because he's like speaking like to human nature and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
2 friends on a video stream, nice. Oh yeah,
Consent.
I have
So,
a flag.
this is Corbin on camera, potato. There he is. Oh,
nigger. Dream content severally as though the dream were a conglomerate in which each fragment calls for special treatment. Get off me, B.
it happened to him twice. People can't see you doing the funny little twirl that you're doing with the cigar.
The face he was making.
Yeah, the face is what was funny about it.
Yeah.
But he was born with that face. He can't help it.
He can't help it.
In which each fragment calls for special treatment. Incoherent and confused dreams are certainly those that have been responsible for the invention of the cipher method. The worthlessness of both these popular methods of interpretation does not admit of discussion as regards the scientific treatment of the
Wiggle that
subject.
cigar like a sword.
The symbolic method is
Who
limited
does this with a sword?
in its application, and it's not susceptible of what the fuck was I reading? Does not admit of discussion as regards to the scientific treatment of the subject. The symbolic
That's
method
weird.
is
It has a
limited
lot
in
of
its
random shit
application,
written
and
in
it's
there.
not susceptible of a general exposition in the cipher method.
It's like you're
Everything
rushing yourself
depends
along,
upon
like, come on,
whether
come
the
on,
he's
get to it.
conducting
book
himself.
is reliable, and for that all guarantees are lacking, so that one might be tempted to grant
You
the
wiggle a
contention
rapier sword?
of
Alright,
the-
fair enough.
I'm not bothered reading
Is that
this
how you
shit.
pronounce that?
Here, you
It's,
read.
it's probably rapier or rapier or rapier. I don't
I
know.
think it's rapier.
Rapier.
Rapier?
I'm gonna rape your
I
ear.
thought it was a rapier.
Yeah, it's probably rapier.
I'm gonna rape your ear.
Philosophers and psychiatrists, and to dismiss the problem of dream interpretation is altogether fanciful. I have, however, come to think differently. I have been forced to perceive that there are once
Got
more
fucking ash on the table.
Just leave it.
have one of the that here once more one of those not infrequent cases where an ancient and stubbornly retained popular belief seems to have come nearer to the truth of the matter than the opinion of modern science. Based. See, Freud knows what's up. I must insist that the dream actually does possess a meaning, and that a scientific method of dream interpretation is possible. I've arrived at my knowledge of this method in the following manner. For years I have occupied with the resolution of certain psychopathological structures, hysterical phobias, obsessional ideas, and the like, with therapeutic intentions. I have been so occupied, in fact, ever since I heard the significant statement of Joseph Breuer, to the effect that in structures regarded as morbid symptoms, solution and treatment go hand in hand. Where it has been possible to trace pathological idea back to those elements in psychic life of the patient to which it owed its origin, this idea has crumbled away, and the patient has been relieved of it. In view of the failure of our other therapeutic efforts, and in the face of mysterious character, like the mysterious stranger, of these pathological conditions, it seemed to me tempting, in spite of all the difficulties, to follow the method initiated by Breuer until a complete Hold on, I know this word, it's just I don't use it a lot. Elucidation, there we go, elucidation. Elucidation of the subject had been achieved. I have occasionally elsewhere to give a detailed account of the form to which the technique of this procedure has finally assumed, and of the results of my efforts in the course of these psychoanalytic studies. I happened upon the question of dream interpretation. My patients, after I had pledged them, see, when people say Freud doesn't know shit, he literally had patients that he he learned this shit by dealing with his patients and actually seeing it firsthand.
And then people say, like, oh, well, it's because he's just projecting onto them or whatever, but like obviously that's going to be a part of it, but like he still has patients. Like it's not like it's still science. Like he's fucking.
Yeah. Anyway, I happened upon the question of dream interpretation. My patients, after I had pledged them to inform me all of the ideas and thoughts which occurred to them in connection with a given theme related to their dreams, and thus taught me that a dream may be interpreted in the psychic cunnilingus.
Cunnilingus.
Concatenation.
You're quite the cunning
Cactus.
linguist.
Concatenation.
Constador.
Conquistador. Which may have followed backwards.
Cosmonaut.
Followed backwards from a pathological idea into a patient's memory. The next step was to treat the dream itself as a symptom and to apply the method of interpretation which had been worked out for such symptoms. For this is a necessary preparation on the part of the patient is necessary. A twofold effort is made to simulate his attentiveness in respect to his psychic perceptions and to eliminate the critical spirit in which he is ordinarily in the habit of viewing such thoughts as come to the surface. For the purpose of self-observation with concentrated attention, it is advantageous that the patient should take up a restful position and close his eyes. He must be explicitly instructed to renounce all criticism of the thought
There's bugs in my
of the
books.
thought formations which he may perceive. He must be told that the success of psychoanalysis depends upon his noting and communicating.
Are reading. Don't stop them.
The what now?
The bugs.
Yeah, the bugs are reading my books.
Stop them before they take over.
No, we must let them read.
Then they'll overtake
They'll
us.
learn. They're educating themselves.
Just like when they said,
It's gonna be like fucking Starship Troopers.
yeah, there you go.
Or Helldivers.
Like, because they're actually sentient in the book, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, in the book, they're like even more human. Like they're like even more intelligent than they are in the movie. Which is funny because the movie's trying to tell you how bad the people are for killing the bugs.
Yeah. He must also be told that the success of the psychoanalysis depends on his noting and communicating everything that passes through his mind. And to that, he must not allow himself to suppress one idea because it seems to him to be unimportant or irrelevant to the subject, or another because it seems nonsensical. He must preserve an absolute impartiality in respect to his ideas. For if he is unsuccessful in finding the desired solution of his dream, the obsessional idea, or the like, it will be because he permits himself to be critical of them.
Ethan Blair showed up.
Oh, hey,
He said
Ethan.
he's eating Papa John's.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
Papa John, yeah, nigger.
Papa Squat. Oh.
It's funny that Papa John's isn't owned by Papa John anymore. Like, it's Papa John's.
Yeah, and like the thing that he said, too, like, wasn't even, like meant to be, like, fucking derogatory.
Yeah.
It's also really funny to watch him criticize the way they make pizza now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That man likes his pizza cooked correctly.
Cared about his craft. I've noticed in the course of my psychoanalytical work that the psychological state of a man in attitude of reflection is entirely different from that of a man who is observing his psychic processes. In reflection, there is a greater play of psychic activity than the most attentive self-observation. This is shown even in the tense attitude and the wrinkled brow of the man's state of reflection, as opposed to the mimic tranquility of the man observing himself. In both cases, there must be concentrated attention. But the reflective man makes use of his critical faculties. I literally made fun of you for that yesterday, because you read facility as faculty.
Yeah, now you're doing the opposite.
Yeah. With the result that he rejects some of the thoughts.
So that's why
which
Hard Luck's a faggot, because it's like anybody can fucking read shit.
I'm really good at misreading shit.
Yeah, that's your talent.
But I can't spell ghosts.
It's true. Even though it's on the fucking thing that you just fucking the wrapper, because you're smoking a ghost.
I am a rapper.
Why?
Bitch ass nigga better give me my money. I'll shoot you in the ass if you think it's funny.
I lost my place.
Bitch ass nigga, you better give me your money.
I'm not even on that page.
It's on the other page.
As opposed to the mimic tranquility of the man observing himself. In both cases, it must be concentrated attention, but the reflective man makes use of his critical facilities. Fuck, I did it again. Critical faculties.
Dude, if Hard Luck watched this,
Right. With the result that he rejects some of the thoughts which rise into consciousness after he's become aware of them, and abruptly interrupts others, so that he does not follow the lines of thought which they would otherwise open for him. While in respect to yet other thoughts, he is able to behave in such a manner that they do not become conscious at all. That is to say, that they are suppressed before they are perceived. In self-observation, on the other hand, he has but one task, that of suppressing criticism. If he succeeds in doing this...
I'm glad my cigars have fallen apart while...
Yeah, because I cut it this time. Well, did I cut it last time, too?
Yeah, you could have both times.
Oh. Well, no, it was peeling in the middle, so never mind.
Yeah, it was peeling where the wrapper was.
Yeah, because he peeled off the wrapper too soon. If it heats up a little bit, it peels off easier.
You want the adhesive to go melt
Adhesive,
a
medical
bit.
strips.
But you don't want to smoke the adhesive,
Let's see.
because that's bad for you.
Yeah.
Any checks?
You just said, what's up, gang?
What's up, gang? This is Corbin in person, and we're reading Freud.
And then he
This
said, my
is a
life in a
tree
nutshell. Referring to what?
With interpretation of dreams.
He was responding to Ethan Blair, though. What the hell did Ethan Blair say that warrants a my life in a nutshell?
What's up, gang? Or
He
because
said, I am currently eating Papa John's. My life in a nutshell.
hashtag relatable.
That's what happens when you eat Papa John's. You relate to people.
If Andy's what happened when you eat Papa John's, we should probably stop eating that. An unlimited number of thoughts enter his consciousness, which would otherwise have eluded his grasp. It simply eludes me.
But you see, if we behead them, they won't have consciousness.
Tur.
I'm gonna sit like
Tur?
Sigmund Freud does.
Tur.
See,
Okay.
this is how Sigmund Freud sits. Sigmund Freud sits like a man. Jordan Peterson sits like this.
Yeah.
He likes to crush his testicles.
Jones
That's
released
probably why.
official
That's probably why
Nuka-Cola
Jordan Peterson's voice
victory.
sounds like that.
Check your local Kroger and supermarkets. What are you gonna say? And like you just say and supermarkets, Ethan. Like you talk like you're
Yeah,
like, talking.
what?
You type like you're talking
Why would you-
nervously.
Why would you make yourself sound like an idiot with the way you type? Like, why would you purposefully put in us
It's
and
weird,
ders
dude.
and does? Like, it's like any. So I was walking around the other day. Duh.
I was strolling through the gas one day.
Were you?
No.
Oh, okay.
You know, you could have a dream about drowning in oil.
I
What the
could.
fuck? How's it go?
You can have a dream about riding a horse.
Or
and
you could have a dream about drowning in oil.
And you can have a dream about eating a drink. I don't know, looks cool? I disagree.
What?
I think it's
Yeah,
odd, Ethan. I think
It makes
it's
you
really
look
odd.
stupid. Why would you type that?
It's weird, dude. Like, whatever, do what you want. I'm just saying it's weird.
It's cool to put does and ders in your sentences. It adds flavor.
Whatever, Ethan. You can type how you want. I just think it's funny. We have different definitions of cool. Though.
I suggest changing it from and duh to the way the Chinese say it. Nigga,
Like,
nigga,
it's funny,
nigga,
it
nigga,
already-
nigga, nigga, nigga.
Because it already annoys me when Mercurial does that. Because when he's talking in person, Ethan does it in text. Like,
Anyway, where the hell was I? As will be seen, the point is to induce a psychic state, which is in some degree analogous. As regards to the distribution of psychic energy, mobile attention to the state of mind before falling asleep, and also, of course, to the hypnotic state. On falling asleep,
I'm having attention of the motorhome. Pay attention.
undesired ideas emerge, owing to the slackening of a certain arbitrary and, of course, also critical action, which is also allowed to influence the trend of our ideas. We are accustomed to speak of fatigue as the reason of this slackening. Fuck off. The merging and
Does it
undesired...
say that?
No. The fucking wind is blowing my fucking
it would be
tape
really
away.
funny if Sigmund Freud typed it.
Just in the middle of the book.
Yeah, just in the middle of the book.
Fuck
like,
off.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Fucking Logan Roy moment.
Yeah. Sit there and
Yeah, so.
So.
The merging undesired ideas are changed into visual and auditory images. In the condition, which it is utilized for the analysis of dreams and pathological ideas, this activity is purposely and deliberately renounced. The psychic energy thus saved, or some part of it. It is employed in attentively tracking the undesired thoughts which now come up to the surface. Thoughts which retain their identity as ideas, in which the condition differs from the state of falling asleep. Undesired ideas are thus changed into desired ones. I don't know why, but that last one reminds me of fucking Fry and Laurie when he's like talking about language.
Mm-hmm.
When he's like intrinsically.
Yeah.
Corbin, Have you seen the Fallout Amazon Prime show? It's garbage. I would not love it. He would
Yeah.
love the ghoul character he's based. I doubt it.
Yeah, no, that show sucks. It's a fucking embarrassment to Fallout.
It's
And Fallout 76 exists.
It's a disgrace to the Brotherhood's legacy. If you don't know, that's like a game dude type reference, because like whenever he doesn't like a game, he'd say like it's a disgrace to the, like with Spyro, he's like, this is a disgrace to the Dragon's legacy, or this is a disgrace to the Bandicoot's legacy. Like he
Yeah.
always said that.
But fucking
It's
A
true.
Boy and His Dog, to me, is the Fallout movie.
Right. We still need to watch Radioactive Dreams. I should have brought that up.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I thought Redeye said he wasn't interested in that show because the changes they made or something. Well, yeah, Andy, there's multiple reasons I'm not interested in that show.
Yeah. And also, it's just like it's like post Fallout 4, which is like fucking like just like the humor in those games now is terrible. Like I hate the humor in Fallout 4.
Right?
I just hate Fallout 4.
Yes, but it could be so bad it's good. Yeah, but that's not what you were saying. And I doubt it.
It's not. Maybe the series gonna make my dick explode now.
Right? Yeah, that's kind of funny. But that's also stupid because they were clearly trying to be funny and it's like a really bad joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, she fucks her cousin in the vault.
Huh.
Like that's actually a thing. And it's like,
What?
oh man.
Well, you would think that would actually be pretty common in Vault.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. They would run out
But
of...
in it, they don't even play it like it's a joke. Like it's just like normal. Like fuck their cousin. Which I mean,
Again, in Vault life like that, after that long, it probably would just.
Yeah, it'd
be.
probably be
Yeah.
normal.
There are many people who do not seem to find it easy to adopt the required attitude towards the apparently freely rising ideas, and to renounce the criticism which is otherwise applied to them, which seeks to prevent them from coming to the surface. But if we may credit our great poet, philosopher Friedrich Schiller, yeah, he shills a lot, the essential
philosophy
condition.
of shilling.
Yeah.
Hippocrates, the philosophy of hypocrisy.
Yeah, we should just make up a bunch of shit about,
Yeah.
but I acknowledge your point of view. Sounds like an opinion respected type statement to me, but okay, Ethan.
I respect your opinion.
I respect your opinion, but I also disagree with everything
I'm not
you stand
disagreeing
for.
with your argument. I'm disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
The fucking hybrid robot thing.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because I made that when I was still like a lot more of an asshole to hybrid.
Yeah.
It still holds true, but it's funny.
I like that. I still like that video I did of hybrid, where it's just fucking like where he's like where he's like confused about the difference between bugs.
Yeah, the
and-
fucking creepypasta.
Yeah. And then one of my comments was, "This is more like a feels pasta."
It's funny though, because I'm willing to bet most of the people who saw it don't realize the fucking abortion references in it.
Yeah.
Because like you couldn't tell the difference between babies and bugs. And renounce the criticism which is otherwise applied to them. The undesired ideas habitually evoke the most violent resistance, which seeks to prevent them from coming to the surface. Oh, I read this already. The essential condition of the poetical creation includes a very similar attitude. In a certain passage in his correspondence, again, we're talking about Schiller.
I like that Sigmund Freud, he's pretentious, but he's not fucking trying to like say everything in a poetic way like
Yeah.
Nietzsche does. Like I fucking
Yeah.
that kind of aggravates me about Nietzsche.
Yeah,
Like he's pretentious, but he's blunt with what he's saying.
right. In his correspondence with Corner, for the tracing of which are indebted to Otto Rank, Schiller replies in following words to a friend who complains his lack of creative power. The reason for your complaint lies, it seems to me, in the constraint which your intellect imposes upon your imagination. Here I will make an observation and illustrate it by allegory. Apparently it is not good, and indeed it hinders the creative work of the mind, if the intellect examines too closely the ideas already pouring in, as it were, at the gates regarded in isolation, an idea to be made quite insignificant and venturesome in the extreme, but it may acquire importance from an idea which follows it, perhaps in certain collocation with other ideas, which may seem... How many fucking pages are left in this chapter?
I could start reading.
Quite a few.
5.
But like I'm at the end of it, which is why I wasn't
We're not quite a few.
insisting on reading.
You still got like
I
a
guess
third.
I can read.
Okay. Hang on, let me just
When you
finish
get to
this.
the end of- yeah.
Which may seem equally absurd. It may be capable of furnishing a very serviceable link. The intellect cannot judge all those unless it can retain them until it has considered them in connection with these other ideas. Basically, I do think he has a point though. A lot of people like ignore their like intrusive thoughts or like weird shit in their dreams because
Yeah,
they
but
don't
that's
like
the-
what it implies.
Yeah, and then they'll say, "Oh no, dreams are just nonsense," because they don't want to face their shadow.
Like there's definitely subconscious meanings to like every thought you have, even if it's
Yeah.
like, that's an odd thought.
Yeah, like even if your dreams are like, honestly, literally, like the more like I've become introspective, the better my dreams have gotten, and they've like made more sense.
Uh-huh. Well, we won't talk too much about your dreams, but
Well, someday I'll do psychoanalysis of the dreams that I can.
maybe not some of the less spicy ones.
Yeah.
Get off me, pesky bee.
Pesky bee.
Uh,
It's the most intellectual reading of Sigmund Freud that's ever happened.
the most intellectual intellect that ever was intellected on.
Yeah.
That's correct.
In the case of the creative mind, it seems to me that the intellect has withdrawn from its watchers from the gates, and the ideas rush in pell-mell. And only then does it review and inspect the multitude. Your worthy critics, or whatever you may call yourselves, are ashamed. He's fucking like shit talking. He's like, you worthy critics, or whatever you may call yourselves, are ashamed or afraid of the momentary and passing madness which is found in all real creators' trademark.
Yeah.
The longer or shorter
I can't
duration.
believe that Hardlook doesn't like Sigmund Freud.
Right. Anyway, the longer, shorter duration of which distinguishes the thinking artist from the dreamer. Hence your complaints of unfruitfulness, for you reject too soon and discriminate too severely. Letter of December 1st, 1788. So this is actually Schiller that was saying that. That wasn't Freud. That was Schiller. There was a quote from Schiller.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so right here, starting with "and yet."
And yet, such a withdrawal of the watchers from the gates of the intellect, as Schiller puts it, such a translation into the condition of uncritical self-observation, is by no means difficult. Most of my patients accomplish it after my first instructions. I myself can do so very completely. If I assist the process by writing down the ideas that flash through my mind, the quantum of psychic energy by which the critical activity is thus reduced, and by which the intensity of self-observation may be increased, varies considerably according to the subject matter upon which the attention is to be fixed. The first step in the application of the procedure teaches us that one cannot make the dream as a whole the object of one's attention, but only the individual components of its content. If I ask a patient who is as yet unpracticed what occurs to you in connection with this dream, he is unable, as a rule, to fix upon anything in his psychic field of vision. I must first dissect the dream for him, then in connection with each fragment he gives me a number of ideas which may be described as the thoughts behind this part of the dream. In this first and important condition, then, the method of dream interpretation which I employ diverges from the popular, historical, and legendary method of interpretation by symbolism and approaches more nearly to the second or cipher method. Like this, it is an interpretation in detail, not en masse. Like this, it conceives the dream from the outset as something built up as a conglomerate of psychic formations. What?
Just watching you struggle with the page.
In the course of my psychoanalysis of neurotics, I have already subjected perhaps more than 1,000 dreams to interpretation, but I do not wish to use this material now as an introduction to the theory and technique of dream interpretation, for quite apart from the fact that I should lay myself upon the objection that these are dreams of neuropaths, so that the conclusions drawn from them would not apply to the dreams of healthy persons, there is another reason that impels me to reject them. The theme to which these dreams point is, of course, always the history of the malady that is responsible for the neurosis. Hence, every dream would require a very long introduction and an investigation of the nature and etiological conditions of the psychoneurosis, matters which are in themselves novel and exceedingly strange, and which would therefore distract attention from the dream problem proper. My purpose is rather to prepare the way by the solution of the dream problem for the solution of the more difficult problems of the psychology of the neurosis.
Problems.
But if I...
Just start throwing problems at the end of every fucking sentence, because he said a lot there.
Yeah, but if I eliminate the dreams of neurotics, which constitute my principal material, I cannot be too fastidious in my treatments of the rest. Only those dreams are left which have been incidentally related to me by healthy persons of my acquaintance, or which I find given as examples in the literature of dream life. I don't see why people think Carl Jung is so much fucking smarter than Sigmund Freud.
Okay, I don't get it either.
Unfortunately, in all these dreams, I am deprived of the analysis, without which I cannot find the meaning of the dream. My mode of procedure is, of course, less easy than that of the popular cipher method, which translate the given dream content by reference to an established key. I, on the contrary, hold that the same dream content may conceal a different meaning in the case of different persons, or in different connections. I must therefore resort to my own dreams as a source of abundant and convenient material I furnished by a person who is more or less normal and containing references to many incidents of everyday life.
Say something funny like bucka buzza, bucka bucka, or wooza wuzzle.
Yeah. I shall certainly be confronted with doubts as to the trustworthiness of these self-analyses.
When he does that, he loses his career.
And it analysis. In my own judgment, conditions are more likely to be favorable in self-observation than in observation of others.
Observation.
In any case, it is permissible to investigate how much can be accomplished in the matter of dream interpretation by means of self-analysis. There are other difficulties which must be overcome.
I mess up.
In my own inner self, one has a comprehensible aversion to exposing so many intimate details.
Didn't he say that when he was talking to that guy that was pretending to be a chick?
Yes, it was Carla.
Yeah.
Or Carlos, as his name probably was.
I think he said what his name was.
Psychic life. And one does not feel secure against the misinterpretations of strangers. But one must be able to transcend such considerations. Tout psychologiste writes del
localization
del queef est it's del bouf.
Freud is it? Sorry to butcher the title. It's very interesting. The book is Freud is the author. The book is the interpretation of dreams.
Yeah. Est obligé de faire la vie mime dessus faiblicis si le croit par le jeter du genre sur
how many goddamn French words
problème obscure. And I may assume for the reader that his initial interest in the indiscretions, if a French person watched this, he'd be like, what the fuck
I wouldn't assume that no one knows what the fuck you just said.
For the reader, that his initial interest in the indiscretions, which I must commit,
it's funny though,
will
when,
very
he'll
soon...
say like a French phrase. Like, this is translated from German, but they don't translate when he says French phrases. Because, like, I get it, he's doing it... Like, that is kind of, like, poetic or whatever, but, like, he does it a lot less than Jung. Jung does it, like, a lot.
Why?
No, Nietzsche. I meant Nietzsche. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I mix up the names of Jung and Nietzsche, even though I know the difference between the two of them.
Yeah.
Probably because you talk about both a lot, and it just kind of gets blended in my head.
Yeah. Very soon give way to an exclusive engrossment in the psychological problems elucidated by them. I shall therefore select one of my own dreams for the purpose of elucidating my method of interpretation. Every such dream necessitates a preliminary statement, so that I must now beg the reader to make my interest his own for a time, and to become absorbed with me in the most trifling details of my life.
Become absorbed like Android 17 and 18.
In the hidden significance of dreams imperatively demand just such a transference. Preliminary statement. In the summer of 1895, I had treated psychoanalytically a young lady who was an intimate friend of mine and of my family.
Saucy.
It will be understood that such complicated relations may excite manifold feelings in the physician, and especially the psychotherapist. The personal interest of the physician is greater, but his authority less. If he fails, his friendship with the patient's relatives is in danger of being undermined. In the case, however, the treatment ended in partial success. The patient was cured of her hysterical anxiety, but not of all her somatic symptoms.
We should try to finish this chapter and then switch to another book.
Yeah, we'll start reading that, and then I'll fucking tie my hair back so it's not a fucking problem anymore.
Yeah.
You put it in a man bun.
At that time, I wouldn't put it in a man bun. At that time, I was not yet quite sure of the criteria which denote the final cure of an hysterical case, and I expected her to accept a solution which did not seem acceptable to her. In the midst of this disagreement, we discontinued the treatment for the summer holidays. One day, a younger colleague, one of my most intimate friends, who had visited the patient Irma and her family in their country residence, called upon me. I asked him how Irma was and received a reply. She is better, but not quite well. I realized that these words of my friend Otto's, or the tone of voice in which they were spoken, annoyed me. I thought I heard a reproach in the words, perhaps to the effect that I had promised the patient too much, and rightly or wrongly I attributed Otto's apparent taking sides against me to the influence of the patient's relatives, who I assumed had never approved of my treatment. This disagreeable impression, however, did not become clear to me, nor did I speak of it. That same evening, I wrote the clinical history of Irma's case in order to give it, as though to justify myself, to Dr. M., a mutual friend who was at that time the leading personality in our circle. During the night, or rather in the early morning, I had the following dream, which I recorded immediately after waking. Dream of July 23rd to 24th, 1895. A great hall, a number of guests whom are receiving, among them Irma, whom I immediately take aside, as though to answer her letter.
Well, he answered her letter all right.
And to reproach her for... I like when he fucking interprets dreams, though, and he's like, "It's clearly as a sign that you're madly in love with me. Take your clothes off."
Does he do that a lot?
Like, yeah, sometimes he does. Like, with his patients, he's like, "This dream must mean that you're in love with me." Her for not yet accepting the solution. I say to her, "If you still have pains, it is really only your own fault." She answers, "If you only knew what pains I have now in the throat, stomach, and abdomen. I am choked by them." I am startled and look at her. She looks pale and puffy. I think that after all, I must be overlooking some organic affection. I take her to the window and look into her throat. She offers some resistance to this, like a woman who has a set of false teeth. I think surely she doesn't need them. The mouth then opens wide, and I find large. It says "and I find" large white spot on the right, and elsewhere I see extensive grayish-white scabs adhering to curiously curled formations, which are evidently shaped like the tribunal bones of the nose. I quickly call Dr. M., who repeats the examination and confirms it. Dr. M. looks quite unlike his usual self. He is very pale. He limps, and his chin is clean-shaven. Now my friend Otto, too, is standing beside her, and my friend Leopold percusses her covered chest and says she has a dullness below on the left, and also calls attention to an infiltrated portion of skin on the left shoulder, which I can feel in spite of the dress. M says there's no doubt that it's an infection, but it doesn't matter. Dysentery will follow, and the poison will be eliminated. We know too precisely how the infection originated. My friend Otto, not long ago, gave her, when she was feeling unwell, an injection of a preparation of propionic acid, trimethylamine. The formula.
Trimethylamine. That sounds kind of kinky.
The formula of which I see before me, printed in heavy type. One doesn't give such injections so rashly. Probably, too, the syringe was not cleaned. This dream has an advantage over many others. It is at once obvious to what events of the preceding day it is related and of what subject it treats. The preliminary statement explains these matters. The news of Irma's health, which I had received from Otto, and the clinical history, which I was writing late into the night, had occupied my psychic activities even during sleep. Nevertheless, no one who had read the preliminary report and had knowledge of the content of the dream could guess what the dream signified, nor do I myself know. I am puzzled by the morbid symptoms of which Irma complains in the dream, for they are not symptoms for which I treated her. I smile at the nonsensical idea of an injection of propionic acid and at Dr. M.'s attempt at consolation. Towards the end, the dream seems more obscure and quicker in tempo than at
Not quite my tempo.
the beginning. In order to learn the significance of all these details, I resolved to undertake an exhaustive analysis. The hall, a number of guests whom we are receiving. We were living that summer at Bellevue, an isolated house on one of the hills adjoining the Kallenberg. This house was originally built as these fucking pesky bees. I'm tired of them.
I'm tired of it.
I'm surprised it says all that about the bees in that book.
Of its entertainment, and therefore has unusually lofty hall-like rooms. The dream was dreamed in Bellevue. The dream was dreamed in Bellevue a few days before my wife's birthday. During the day, my wife had mentioned that she expected several friends, and among them Irma, to come to us as guests for her birthday. My dream then anticipates the situation. It is my wife's birthday, my wife, and we are receiving a number of people, among them Irma, as guests in a large hall of Bellevue. I reproach Irma for not having accepted the solution. I say, if you still have pains, it is really your own fault. I might even have said this while awake. I may have actually said it. At that time, I was of the opinion, recognized later to be incorrect, that my task was limited to informing patients of the hidden meanings of their symptoms, whether they then accepted or did not accept the solution upon which success depended, for that I was not responsible. I am grateful to this error, which fortunately has now been overcome, since it made life easier for me at a time when, with all my unavoidable ignorance, I was expected to effect successful cures. But I note that in the speech which I make to Irma in the dream, I am above all anxious, and I shall not be
Let me know
blamed
if you want me to take over again, because I finished mine.
for the pains which she still suffers. If it is Irma's own fault, it cannot be mine, should the purpose of the dream be looked for in this quarter. You know, it starts with fucking French shit, so.
Quarter. Where's the French?
That's French.
It's not French. Quarter.
What is it?
Irma's complaints. Yeah,
Oh.
that's French, isn't it?
Never
That
mind.
is very French.
Irma's complaints. That doesn't sound French at all.
That would sound
I'm
more
sorry, the way it
German.
was written.
Pains in the neck, abdomen, and stomach. She is choked by them. Pains in the stomach belong to the symptom
I like
complex
that
of
the
my
way
patient.
Ethan said this makes it sound like fraud.
Yeah. I mean, granted, that's what a lot of people call Freud. Like, they'll call him Sigmund Freud as, like, an insult.
Yeah.
Like there's that Family Guy joke where Brian goes to the therapist and Peter's like, oh yeah, well, what did Sigmund Freud have to say? And he's like, he said he thinks I'm in love with someone. And he's like, oh my God, you can talk. It's the episode where Brian, like, realizes he has a crush on Lois.
Yeah.
My hand just.
But really, I
twitched in
do
a
think
weird
it's
way.
self-projection when people call him a fraud, because it's literally just people being like, no, I can't possibly want to do these things that Freud says these dreams must mean, or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway. Pains in the stomach belong to
Hopefully
a
it
storm.
might rain soon.
It's
Tap.
going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About the time we're driving to, it's going to be raining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we see it start sprinkling and all, we'll head in, but
Mm-hmm. Can you like this?
Ow!
yeah.
This is gonna suck.
It usually does. Wind's cool.
Hang on a sec. I need like
I should probably give up.
That's probably
like
good enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we just take this inside, do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sure. Here, hold the spot in the book we're at.
Where is it?
Keep your finger in the page. It doesn't matter the spot on the page. I don't want the spot on the page.
Keep it on the paragraph.
That's what I'm saying. Just keep it on the page is what I'm saying, Corbin. Don't overthink it. Yada. Yada yada days. Yada yada does it. Yeah, exactly. Hang
No?
on. Oh, no, yeah, you need it, huh? I didn't realize you weren't done. My bad. My bad. Yeah. Ugh. Hey! Ugh. Alright. Probably need to turn the bigger light on, don't we? Hang on a sec. Golly gee, would you look at that? Oh my God, Ginger, you're a peacock. Would you look at that? Okay. right. Pains in the stomach belong to the symptom complex of my patient, but they were not very prominent. She complained rather of qualms and a feeling of nausea. Hold on. Lost my spot again. Pains in the neck and abdomen and constriction of the throat played hardly in any part in her case. I wonder why I have decided upon this choice of symptoms in the dream. For the moment, I cannot discover the reason. She looks pale and puffy. My patient had always a rosy complexion. I suspect that here another person is being substituted for her. I am startled at the idea that I may have overlooked some organic affection. Hold on a second. Have I gone backwards or something? No, I guess he's just saying that. I was just saying the organic affection thing again, so.
Hopefully we get back soon. I know that restaurant works.
Yeah. If we have enough time, right? Anyway, where was I? Organic affection. Affectione. This, as the reader will readily believe, is a constant fear with the specialist who sees neurotics almost exclusively. Did you hear they're making a Happy Gilmore too? I did not hear that. It's probably going to suck. And who is accustomed to ascribe to hysteria so many manifestations. Manifestations. Where was I?
Dude, I really fucked it up. Look. You what?
Whatever. You look like fucking like a Fabio type or something right now. Anyway, which other physicians treat as organic. On the other hand, I am haunted by a faint doubt. I do not know whence it comes, whether my alarm is altogether honest. If Irma's pains are indeed of organic origin, it is not my duty to cure them. My treatment, of course, removes only hysterical pains. It seems to me, in fact, that I wish to find an error in the diagnosis, for then I could not be reproached with failure to effect a cure. I take her to the window in order to look into her throat. Yeah, you read this already, didn't you?
Yeah.
Have I just...
Were you reading the same paragraph?
Apparently I have been for like the whole time since I took over.
That's pretty cool.
I thought I gave you off right here.
Yes, and this is all... So you were on this page, not this page, which is probably why I thought it started with some French shit.
Doesn't make sense.
Oh well. I'm already this fucking far. Anyway, she resists a little, then like a woman who has false teeth. I think to myself, she does not need them. I had never an occasion to inspect Irma's oral cavity. The incident in the dream reminds me of an examination made some time before in the governess who first produced an impression of a youthful beauty, unless he just says very, very similar things, but who, upon opening her mouth, took certain measures to conceal her denture. Other memories of medical examinations, maybe it is
This is the part where he's analyzing it.
Okay.
He's talking about the thing.
I don't know. Threw me off. Other memories of medical examinations and of petty secrets revealed by them, to embarrassment of both the physician and the patient, associate themselves with the case. She surely does not need them, is perhaps, in the first place, a compliment to Irma. But I suspect yet another meaning. In careful analysis, one is able to feel whether or not the amères pensées, which are to be expected to have all exchanged the way in which Irma stands at the window, suddenly reminds me of another experience. Irma has an intimate woman friend, of whom I think very highly. One evening...
Is this like this?
I don't know, probably. One evening, on paying her a visit, I found her at the window in position reproduced in the dream. And her physician, the same Dr. M, declared that she had a dipthermic membrane. The person of Dr. M and the membranes in return, indeed, in the course of the dream. Now it occurs to me that during the past few months I have had every reason to suppose that the lady too is hysterical. Yes, Irma herself betrayed the fact to me. But what do I know of her condition? Only the one thing, that, like Irma in the dream, she suffers from hysterical choking. Thus, in the dream, I have replaced my patient by her friend. Now I remember that I have often played with this supposition that this lady, too, might ask me to relieve her of her symptoms. But even at this time, I thought that it might be improbable, since she is extremely reserved. She resists, as the dream shows, another explanation which might be that she does not need it. In fact, until now, she has shown herself strong enough to master her condition without outside help. Now only a few features remain, which I can assign neither to Irma nor to her friend. Pale, puffy, false teeth. The teeth led me to the governess. I now feel inclined to be satisfied with bad teeth. Here another person, to whom the features may allude, occurs to me that she is not my patient, and I do not wish her to be my patient, for I have noticed that she is not at her ease with me. Yeah, she doesn't like me, so I don't want to take her as a patient. Which, that makes sense. And I do not consider her a docile patient. He's like, yeah, she's a bitch and she doesn't like me. Yeah. She is generally pale, and once when she had not felt particularly well, she was puffy. I have thus compared my patient, Irma, with two others, who would likewise resist treatment. What is the meaning of the fact that I have exchanged her for a friend in the dream? Perhaps that I wish to exchange her, either her friend arouses in me stronger sympathies, or I have higher regard for her intelligence. For I consider Irma foolish because she does not accept my solution. The other woman would be more sensible, and would thus be more likely to yield. The mouth then opens readily. I have other uses for your throat that do not involve injury. That's a good Johnny Depp quote. She would tell me more than Irma. What I see in the throat, a white spot, a scabby turbinal bone. Bones! The white spot recalls diphtheria, and thus Irma's friend. But it also recalls the grave illness of my eldest daughter 2 years earlier, and all anxiety that unhappy time. The scab of the turbinal bones reminds me of my anxiety concerning my own health. At the time, I frequently used cocaine. Wait, what? In order to suppress distressing swellings in the nose. It's just going to make it swell more, isn't it?
Yeah, what the... Old science.
Right?
I prescribed the patient tons of cocaine.
Hold on, it's about to say that, like legitimately.
That'll help him.
Swellings of the nose, and I had heard a few days previously that a lady patient who did likewise had contracted an extensive necrosis of the nasal mucous membrane. In 1885, it was I who recommended the use of cocaine, and I have been gravely reproached in consequence. A dear friend, who had died before the date of this dream, had hastened his end by the misuse of this remedy. Yeah,
if it
cocaine.
Works for Sherlock Holmes, it works for me.
Right. Hey, didn't they used to put that in Coca-Cola? Yes.
Back when Coca-Cola was good.
I quickly called Dr. M, who repeats the examination, rather. This would simply correspond to the position which Dr. M occupied among us. Among Us.
Kind of close.
But the word quickly is striking enough to demand a special examination. It reminds me of a sad medical experience. By continually prescribing a drug, sulfonal, which at the time was still considered harmless, I was once responsible for the condition of acute poisoning in the case of a woman patient. Jeez. And hastily turned for assistance to my older and more experienced colleagues.
Sigmund Freud can do no wrong.
The fact that I had this case in mind, confirmed by a subsidiary circumstance, is confirmed by a subsidiary circumstance. The patient, who succumbed to the toxic effects of the drug, bore the same name of my eldest daughter. I had never thought of this until now, but now it seems to me like all you see is violence in movies and sex in TV. It seems to me that almost like a retribution of fate, as though the substitution of persons had to be continued in another sense. This Matilda for that Matilda, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It is as though I was seeking every opportunity to reproach myself for a lack of medical conscientiousness. Dr. M is a pale and thin and shaven, and he limps. Of course, so much of this is correct, that his unhealthy appearance is often arouses the concern of his friends. The other two characteristics must belong to another person. An elder brother living abroad occurs to me, for he too shaves his chin, and if I remember him rightly, the M of the dream bears on the whole a certain avian variety. A certain resemblance to him. And some days previously the news arrives that he is limping on account of his arthritic affection of the hip. Thus, there must be some reason why I fuse the two persons into one in my dream. I remember that, in fact, I was on bad terms with both of them for similar reasons. Both had rejected a certain proposal which I had recently made them. My friend Otto, who is now standing next to the patient, and my friend Leopold examines... Oh, I see. So that's why I was not repeating. What it is the stuff that's italicized is he's revisiting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And anyway, standing next to the patient, and my friend Leopold examines her and calls attention to a dullness low down on her left side. My friend Leopold is also a physician, and a relative of Otto's, since the two practice the same specialty. Fate has made them competitors, so that they are constantly being compared to one another. Both of them assisted me for years, while I am still directing a public clinic for neurotic children. There seems to be a scenes like that reproduced in my dream had often taken place. While I would be discussing the diagnosis of a case with Otto, Leopold would examine the child anew and make an I don't know if I want Leopold examining children. Different Leopold. And make unexpected contribution towards our decision. There was a difference of character between the two men, like between Inspector Brasig and his friend Carl. Otto was remarkably prompt and alert. Leopold was slow and thoughtful, but thorough. If I contrast Otto and the cautious Leopold in the dream, I do so, apparently, in order to extol Leopold. The comparison is like that made above between the disobedient patient Irma and her friend, who was believed to be more sensible. I now become aware of one of the tracks along which the association of ideas in the dream proceeds. From the sick child to the children's clinic. Concerning the dullness low on the left side, I have the impression that it corresponds with a certain case of which all of the details were similar. A case which Leopold impressed me by his thoroughness.
How much is left? for the chapter? Quite a bit, huh?
Let's see. 1, 2,
Buckle my
3,
shoe.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages.
Do you want to finish this chapter or just move on to the next book in a couple pages?
He's climbing your windows, trying to snatch your people up, trying to rape us. All you need to hide your kids, hide your wife. Okay, then,
What?
Ethan. That's okay, Ethan. He's talking about Leopold. Hey there, Blimpy boy, flying through the sky so fancy free.
I'm gonna pee and then I'll read the next couple pages.
Okay, let's do that. Is that an Illuminati card? No, it's a
the
magic card.
together.
I thought vaguely, too, of something like a metastatic affection, but it might be a reference to the patient whom I should have liked to have in Irma's place. For this lady, as far as I can gather, exhibited symptoms which imitated tuberculosis. An infiltrated portion of the skin on the left shoulder. I know at once that this is my own rheumatism of the shoulder, which I always feel if I lie awake long at night. The very phrasing of the dream sounds ambiguous. I don't know why the fuck I said androgynous. I saw androgynous. Something which I can feel as he does, in spite of the dress. Feel on my own body is intended. Further, it occurs to me how unusual the phrase infiltrated portion of the skin sounds. We are accustomed to the phrase an infiltration of the upper posterior left. This would refer to the lungs, and thus, once more, to tuberculosis, in spite of the dress. This, to be sure, is only interpolation. At the clinic, the children were, of course, examined undressed. Here have some contrast to the manner which the adult female patients have to be examined. The story used to be told of an eminent physician that always examined his patients through their clothes. The rest is obscure to me. I have, frankly, no inclination to follow the matter further. Dr. M says, it is an infection, but it doesn't matter. Dysentery will follow, and the position will be eliminated. Thus, at first, it seems to me ridiculous. Nevertheless, like everything else, it must be carefully analyzed, more closely observed. It seems, after all, have a sort of meaning. What I have found in the patient was a local diphtheritis.
Dippity.
I remember the discussion about diphtheritis and diphtheria at the time of my daughter's illness. Diphtheria is the general infection which proceeds from local diphtheritis. Leopold demonstrates the existence of such a general infection by dullness, which also suggests metastatic focus. I believe, however, that just this kind of metastasis, that Breaking Bad ripoff, that's not a ripoff, it's an adaptation.
You know what's good for tuberculosis?
What's that?
Tons of cocaine.
Yeah. I believe, however, that just this kind of metastasis does not occur in the case of diphtheria. It reminds me rather of a pymea. It doesn't matter is a consolation. I believe it fits as follows. The last part of the dream has yielded a content to the effect that the patient's sufferings are a result of serious organic affection. I began to suspect that by this I am only trying to shift the blame from myself. Psychic treatment cannot be responsible for the continued presence of dipthermic affection. Now indeed I am distressed by the thought of having invented such a serious illness for Irma. for the sole purpose of exculpating myself. It seems so cruel. Accordingly, I need the assistance that the outcome will be benign. Assurance that the outcome will be benign, rather. And it seems to me that I made a good choice
With all you see.
when I put the words, I already made that joke, that consoled me into the mouth of Dr. M. But here I am placing myself in a position of superiority to the dream, a fact which needs explanation.
We're really gonna read the next.
All right, so you just start with, but why? But why?
Is this constellation so nonsensical? This dysentery, some sort of far-fetched theoretical notion that the toxins of disease might be eliminated through the intestines. Am I thereby trying to make fun of Dr. M's remarkable store of far-fetched explanations, his habits of conceiving curious pathological relations? Dysentery suggests something else. A few months ago, I had in my care a young man who was suffering from remarkable intestinal troubles.
Sounds like he has a case of ligma.
A case
Cocaine's good for that.
which had been treated by other colleagues as one of anemia with malnutrition. I realized that it was a case of hysteria. I was unwilling to use my psychotherapy on him and sent him off on a sea voyage. What? Now, a few days previously, I had received...
I prescribe you to take a sea voyage!
Yeah, I prescribe you to take a sea voyage. Despairing letter from him. He wrote from Egypt saying that he had had a fresh attack, which the doctor had declared to be dysentery. I suspect that the diagnosis is merely an error on the part of an ignorant colleague who was allowing himself to be fooled by the hysteria. Yet I cannot help reproaching myself for putting the invalid in a position where he might contract some organic affection of the bowels, in addition to his hysteria. Furthermore, dysentery sounds not unlike diphtheria, a word which does not occur in the
Diphtheria, dysentery, hardly different.
Yes, it must be the case that with the consoling prognosis, dysentery will develop, etc. I am making fun of Dr. M, for I recollect that years ago he once jestingly told a very similar story of a colleague. He had been called in to consult with him in the case of a woman who was very seriously ill, and he felt obliged to confront his colleague, who seemed very hopeful, with the fact that he found albumin in the patient's urine. His colleague, however, did not allow this to worry him, but answered calmly, "That does not matter, my dear sir. The albumin will soon be excreted." Thus I can no longer doubt that this part of the dream expresses derision for those of my colleagues who are ignorant of hysteria. And as though in confirmation, the thought enters my mind, does Dr. M know that the appearances of Irma's friend, his patient, which gave him reason to fear tuberculosis, are likewise due to hysteria?
Does Dr. M know that gods of death love apples?
Has he recognized this hysteria, or has he allowed himself to be fooled? But what can be my motive in treating this friend so badly? That is simple enough. Dr. M agrees with my solution as little as does Irma herself.
I was going to say, Irma's not a guy name.
In this dream, I have already revenged myself on two persons. I killed them. I hunted them down in their sleep and slaughtered them.
Is that actually in the book?
No.
Okay. I was going to say, is this another dream?
If you still have pains, it is your own fault. If you still have pains, it's your own fault. And I'm Dr. M in the wording of the nonsensical consolation which has been put into his mouth. We know precisely how the infection originated. This precise knowledge in the dream is remarkable.
We know precisely what has been put into his mouth.
Only a moment before this, we did not yet know of the infection, since it was first demonstrated by Leopold. My friend Otto gave her an injection not long ago, when she was feeling unwell. Otto had actually related during his short visit to Irma's family that he had been called into a neighboring hotel in order to give an injection to someone who had been suddenly taken ill. Injections remind me once more of the unfortunate friend who poisoned himself with cocaine. I had recommended the remedy for internal use only during the withdrawal of morphia, but he immediately gave himself injections of cocaine, which a preparation of propionic acid. Wait, seriously, there's a lot of things that sound oddly familiar to older pages.
Well, yeah, because is it italicized?
I don't know. It doesn't, like, it literally just says, oh yeah, I guess it is, yeah.
Yeah, because again, he's revisiting it. Like, so he described the dream. Now he's saying this part of the dream again, and then he's saying this is what it means.
Mm-hmm. How unwritten the clinical history and dreamed about the case, my wife opened a bottle of liquor labeled Ananas.
And anise?
Ananas, which was a present from our friend Otto. He had a matter of fact, a habit of
Otto
making
gave them a gift of anus.
presents on every possible occasion. I hope he will someday be cured of this by a wife. This liquor smelt so strongly of fusel oil,
Fusel sprouts?
fusel oil, that I refused to drink
Defusel
it.
oil.
Fusel oil. My wife suggested we will give the bottle to the servants, and I, more prudent, objected with the philanthropic remark, they shan't be poisoned either. The smell of
You didn't think of the
fusel
smell,
oil
you bitch!
amyl has now apparently awakened my memory of the whole series, propyl, methyl, etc., which furnished the... yeah, give him some meth. The preparation of propyl mentioned in the dream. Here indeed I have effected a substitution. I dreamt of propyl after smelling amyl, but substitutions of this kind are perhaps permissible, especially in organic chemistry. Trimethyl...
You want me to look at it?
Trilethylamine.
Hold on.
Trim.
Trimmy, bang, bang. Trimethylene.
Trimethylamine.
Yeah. Trimethylamine.
Yeah, trimethylamine. In the dream, I see the chemical formula of
Trimethylamine!
Trimethylamine. Which at all events is evidence of a great effort on the part of my memory. And the formula is even printed in heavy type, as though to distinguish it from the context as something of particular importance. And where does trimethylamine thus forced on my attention lead me? To a conversation with another friend who for years has been familiar with all my germinating ideas. And it was this, and I with his. At that time, he had just informed me of certain ideas concerning asexual chemistry, and had mentioned, among others, that he thought he had found a trimethylamine, one of the products of sexual metabolism. This substance thus leads me to sexuality. You know, we should just finish this chapter and probably end the stream, since it'll be going on for a bit.
Yeah.
The factor to which I attribute the greatest significance in respect to the origin of these nervous affections which I am trying to cure. My patient Irma is a young widow. If I am required to excuse my failure to cure her, I shall perhaps do best to refer to this condition, which her admirers would be glad to terminate. But in what a singular fashion such a dream is fitted together. This friend who in my dream becomes my patient in Irma's place is likewise a young widow. I surmise why it is that the formula of trimethylamine is so insistent in the dream. So many important things are centered about this one word. Trimethylamine is an allusion, not merely to the all-important factor of sexuality, but also to a friend whose sympathy I remember with satisfaction whenever I feel isolated in my opinions. And this friend, who plays such a large part in my life, will he not appear yet again in the concatenation of ideas peculiar to this dream? Of course, he has a special knowledge of the results of affections of the nose and sinuses, and has revealed to science several highly remarkable relations between the turbinal bones and the female sexual organs. The three curly formations in Irma's throat. I got him to examine Irma in order to determine whether her gastric pains were of nasal origin, but he himself suffers from suppurative rhinitis,
Rhinitis?
Rhinitis, which gives...
Not gonna work here anymore anyway.
Yeah. which gives me concern, and to this perhaps there is an allusion in Pyamia?
I pronounced it Pyamia.
Pyamia?
Yeah.
Which hovers before me in the metastasis of the dream.
We're getting there.
Sounding like a storm.
Tut tut, it looks like rain.
One doesn't give such infections so rashly. Infections so rashly. One doesn't give such infections so rashly. Here the reproach of rashness is hurled directly at my
Probably put
friend
my ass
Otto.
right up in front of the fucking
I
screen
believe
right
I
now.
had some such thought in the afternoon when he seemed to indicate by word and look that he had taken sides against me. It was perhaps how easily he is influenced, how irresponsibly he pronounces judgment. Further, the above sentence points once more to my deceased friend, who so irresponsibly resorted to cocaine injections. As I have said, I had not intended that injections of the drug should be taken. I note that in reproaching Otto, I once more touch upon the story of the unfortunate Matilda, which was the pretext for the same reproach against me. Here, obviously, I am collecting examples of my conscientiousness and also of the reserve. Probably, too, the syringe was not clean. Another reproach directed at Otto, but originating elsewhere. On the previous day, I happened to meet the son of an old lady of 82, to whom I am obliged to give 2 injections of morphia daily. At present, she is in the country, and I have heard that she is suffering from phlebitis.
Phlebitis.
I immediately thought that this might be a case of infiltration caused by a dirty syringe. It is my pride that in 2 years I have not given her a single infiltration. I am always careful, of course, to see that the syringe is perfectly clean, for I am conscientious. From the phlebitis.
From the flibble.
From the flibble.
Mr. Flibble's very cross.
I returned to my wife, who once suffered from thrombosis during a period of pregnancy, and now 3 related situations come to the surface in my memory involving my wife, Irma, and the dead Matilda, whose identity has apparently justified my putting these 3 persons in one another's places. I have now completed the interpretation of the dream. In the course of this interpretation, I have taken great pains to avoid all those notions which must have been suggested by a comparison of the dream content with the dream thoughts hidden behind this content. Meanwhile, the meaning of the dream has dawned upon me. I have noted an intention which is realized through the dream, and which must have been my motive in dreaming the dream.
Dream.
Fulfills several wishes which were awakened within me, the events of the previous evening. Otto's news and the writing of the clinical history, for the result of the dream is that it is not I who am to blame for the pain which Irma is still suffering, but that Otto is to blame for it.
Yeah,
now, Otto,
that motherfucker Otto's fault.
Yeah.
He's probably working with Xander.
Yeah. Now Otto has annoyed me by his remark about Irma's imperfect cure. The dream avenges me upon him in that it turns the reproach upon himself. The dream acquits me of responsibility for Irma's condition, as it refers this condition to other causes, which do indeed furnish quite a number of explanations. The dream represents a certain state of affairs, such as I might wish to exist. The content of the dream is thus the fulfillment of a wish. Its motive is a wish. This much is apparent at first sight, but many other details of the dream become intelligible when regarded from the standpoint of wish fulfillment. I take my revenge on Otto, not merely for too readily taking sides against me, in that I accuse him of careless medical treatment, the injection, but I revenge myself also for the bad liqueur, which smells of fusel oil, and I find an expression in the dream which unites both these reproaches, the injection of a preparation of propyl. Still, I am not satisfied, but continue to avenge myself by comparing him with his more reliable colleague. Thereby, I seem to say, I like him better than you. But Otto is not the only person who must be made to feel the weight of my anger. I take my revenge on the disobedient patient by exchanging her for a more sensible and more docile one. Nor do I pass over Dr. M's contradiction, for I express in an obvious allusion my opinion of him, namely, that his attitude in this case is that of an ignoramus. Dysentery will develop, etc. Indeed, it seems as though I were appealing from him to someone better informed. My friend who told me about trimethylamine, just as I have turned from Irma to her friend and from Otto to Leopold. It is as though I were to say, rid me of these three persons,
Who will rid me of this turbulent priest?
replace them by three others by my own choice. See, this is where I was like he's literally like say like I hate these people and want to replace them in his dream. Like he's like,
Yeah.
and I shall be rid of the reproaches which I am not willing to admit that I deserve. In my dream, the unreasonableness of these reproaches is demonstrated for me in the most elaborate manner. Irma's pains are not attributable to me, since she herself is to blame for them. In that she refuses to accept my solution. They do not concern me, for being as they are of an organic nature, they cannot possibly be cured by psychic treatment. Irma's sufferings are satisfactorily explained by her widowhood. Trimethylamine, a state which I cannot alter, administered by Otto, an injection of an unsuitable drug, such as I should never have administered. Irma's complaint is the result of an injection made with an unclean syringe, like the phlebitis of my old lady patient, whereas my injections have never caused any ill effects. I am aware that these explanations of Irma's illness, which unite in acquitting me, do not agree with one another, that they even exclude one another. The whole plea for this dream is nothing else, recalls vividly the defense offered by a man who was accused by his neighbor of having returned a kettle in a damaged condition. In the first place, he said he had returned the kettle undamaged. In the second place, it already had holes in it when he borrowed it. And in the third place, he had never borrowed it at all. A complicated defense, but so much the better.
I'm not wearing a tie
if
at
only
all.
one of these three lines of defense is recognized as valid. The man must be acquitted. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Still, other themes play a part in the dream, and the relations to my non-responsibility for Irma's illness is not so apparent. My daughter's illness, and that of
because that's who that is.
with the same name, the harmfulness of cocaine, the affection of my patient, who was traveling in Egypt, concern about the health of my wife, my brother, and Dr. M, my own physical troubles, my physical troubles, and anxiety concerning my absent friend, who is suffering from suppurative rhinitis. But if I keep all these things in view, they combine into a single train of thought, which might be labeled concern for the health of myself and others, professional conscientiousness. I recall a vaguely disagreeable feeling when Otto gave me the news of Irma's condition. Lastly, I am inclined, after the event, to find an expression of this fleeting sensation in the train of thoughts which forms part of the dream. It is as though Otto had said to me, "You do not take your medical duties seriously enough. You are not conscientious. You do not perform what you promise. I promise. Thereupon this train of thought placed itself at my service in order that I might give proof of my extreme conscientiousness, of my intimate concern about the health of my relatives, friends, and patients. Curiously enough, there are also some painful memories in this material which confirm the blame attached to Otto rather than my own exculpation.
Exculpation.
It says exculpation.
Okay, exculpation. Oh, it's like exculpatory, so I guess exculpation would be the... Oh.
The material is apparently impartial, but the connection between this broader material... See, the more I read, the fucking more loopy in my brain gets. On which the dream is based, and the more limited theme... The dream is pretty based. From which emerges the wish to be innocent of Irma's illness. It's nevertheless unmistakable. I do not wish to assert that I have entirely revealed the meaning of the dream, or that my interpretation is flawless. I could still spend much time upon it. I could draw further explanations from it, and discuss further problems which it seems to propound. I can even perceive the points from which further mental associations might be traced, but such considerations as are always involved in every dream of one's own prevent me from interpreting it farther. Those who are over ready to condemn such reserve should make the experiment of trying to be more straightforward. For the present, I am content with the one fresh discovery which has just been made. If the method of dream interpretation here indicated is followed, it will be found that dreams do really possess a meaning and are by no means the expression of a disintegrated cerebral activity, as the writers on the subject would have us believe. When the work of interpretation has been completed, the dream can be recognized.
It's
as
funny
the
you
wish
mentioned that,
fulfillment.
Ethan, because Edgar asks me about that fucking movie all the time.
What is it?
He's like, have you guys seen Where the Dead Go to Die?
Oh, yeah.
Edgar fucking brings that movie up all the time.
Yeah, but it's actually Ethan who told me about it in the first place.
Oh.
But that was the end of chapter 2.
All right, shall we wrap this up in a
So the
chapter 3? No, chapter 2, you're right.
Yeah, chapter 2.
We did 2 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we wrap this up in a neat little package? All
Yeah.
right. See you, chumps.